Good morning. Have a seat up on your lift. Cross your legs in the center of your shins. Let your arms rest gently on your thighs. Not so much on your knees. There is a way that we can work that, but when we're just letting our arms go, sometimes on the knees we tend to grip with the hands. So see if you can be more on the tops of the thighs with your upper arms in line with your side ribs and the hands nice and relaxed. Ensure that your shoulders are above your hips, that you're not leaning forward, not leaning back. And see that you're on the tips of your sit bones. So sometimes you actually do need to rock forward and back in order to do that. So you can rock back to get towards the back of your sit bones, rock forward to get to the front of your sit bones. And then when you find that tippity top, that's where you pause. And then readjusting your shoulders to be over your hips. Seeing that your front ribs aren't pushing forward, but they're drawing back into the body without the shoulders moving back, just those ribs drawing into the body. You may feel a slight gripping of the abdomen. That's fine. That's holding you upright. And just notice, before trying to change anything, notice where by default you're holding on to tension. Is there tension in the groins? Is there tension in the shoulders? Is there tension in the back somewhere? Is there tension in the face? And then methodically move through the body piece by piece. Sit balanced evenly on the sit bones. Find the lengthening of the groins from the inner thigh through the inner knee. And it goes past the inner knee. It doesn't really stop there. It keeps going. And from the upper inner thighs back towards the abdomen. So the whole inner groins are lengthening. And then pause. Notice if that changes anything. As soon as I find that lengthening, my breath completely changes. Now, that doesn't mean that the same thing will happen to you, but does it? Or what does happen? Descend the flesh of the inner thighs and draw from the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact the hips together. But as you draw from the outer knees to the outer hips, there's still that extension that goes past the knees. And again, pausing to notice any changes that take place. Of course, in the parts that you have adjusted. But how does that affect other parts of the body? How does that affect your torso? How does that affect your neck, shoulders? How does that affect your breath? How does that affect your mind? Now release the top of the buttocks down away from the shoulders as you draw the front bottom ribs towards the back body. Allow the abdomen to move towards the spine and lengthen from your hips to your armpits. And see if you can find an evenness on the two sides. And an evenness on the two sides, as beginners, we tend to focus on, well, let's work evenly. But as we become more practiced, we find we need to work unevenly to become even. So which side seems a little bit shorter? Which side has less intelligence? Which side isn't meeting the other side? And can you adjust? And that may mean working more, bringing more intelligence to one side of the body, but it also may be a combination of that and doing a little less on the side that has the intelligence or has the abilities. So instead of seeking maximum, full maximum, can you focus on seeking an evenness, an equality of the two sides? So if I took a ruler from your armpit to your hips, it would be even on the two sides. And notice what that changes. Notice what that changes in some of your common pain points, if you have those. Notice what that changes in the breath, and notice what that changes in the mind. Lengthen from the inner armpits to the inner elbows. And let gravity help you with this work. And as the elbows descend, as the shoulders descend, bring the palms together with your thumbs at your chest. Touch the palms evenly, left to right, right to left. Close your eyes from top to bottom. And draw your eyes back and down to gaze at the seat of your heart, the seat of your soul. As you touch the palms evenly, move the shoulder bones away from each other, away from the sides of your neck. So there's a lengthening from that crook of the neck where the neck meets the shoulder, or where the neck meets the torso. There's a lengthening from there on both sides, lengthening out over the shoulders as the shoulders move away from each other. Broaden from the center of the sternum across the collarbones, and broaden from between the shoulder blades out towards the shoulders. So both the front of the body and the back of the body are becoming wider. Ensure that your chin is parallel to the floor, the back of your head in line with your buttocks, so the head is not protruding forward. And without tucking the chin, take the occipital ridge, that bump that sticks out in the back of your head. Take that upward without tucking the chin. And as you inhale, accentuate the length of the body, lengthening through the spine and side ribs, again with an evenness on the two sides. And as you exhale, maintain that lift and length and become wider, broader. Inhale, lengthening. Exhaling, widening. Or as Anne likes to say, inhaling, extending. Exhale, expanding. Go inward. And let's chant the syllable Om 3 times together. Exhaling completely. Deep inhalation. Lifting your sternum towards the ceiling, lower your chin towards your heart. And release your hands onto your thighs with your palms up. With your eyes closed, raise your head. Gently let your eyes open. And take a moment, check in. How are things different now than when you first sat on your lift or first entered that room that you're in right now. It doesn't really take that long to shift our experience, to shift our perspective. It doesn't mean that all your worldly problems have gone away. They're still here. If you had them before, they're still here. And you can even still be experiencing them, but perhaps with just a bit more calm surrounding them. And allow yourself to experience, if you are experiencing any calm, allow yourself to fully experience it. Allow that calm to hold you. Allow that calm to nourish you. Allow that calm to hold any difficulties that you may be having, as opposed to trying to push the difficulties away. Instead, embrace those difficulties with the calm that is also within you, surrounding you, nurturing you. And straighten your legs. Sit at the edge of your lift. Your feet can be together. If they don't go together, they can be hip distance apart. It's fine. You can also take a block between your feet. You know, either the narrow block or the thin block. If you have something like that, that's totally fine. And if they go together, you know, you can take them together. Just depends on the makeup of your body. It's nice. I find it nice to peel the flesh away from the sit bones. You can feel those sit bones. And don't be in the back of the sit bones. So in this pose, it's the tip of the sit bones, but maybe just slightly forward. Not the back of the sit bones, but the tip of the sit bones to slightly forward of the tip of the sit bones. Hands by your hips, elbows bent. And balance evenly on those sit bones. Now we want to do the same work with the legs, so lengthening the inner groins from the inner thigh out through the inner knee, but just as when the legs were bent, we said it goes past the knee, here it goes past the knee, out through the foot. So extending through the inner heel, also through the ball of the toe. The flesh of the inner thigh is descending, drawing from the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. And as I look at my feet, I don't often do this instruction because I'm not good at it, but that's no excuse for not sharing appropriate details. See if you can spread the toes. It also comes from the balls of the toes. So spread from the ball of the big toe to the ball of the little toe, and then see how far apart you can spread your toes. And I can't even tell if my toes are actually in the picture anymore. But don't use mine as an example. My toes don't spread very far. But to be clear, they spread more now than they did 20 years ago when I started yoga. But don't give up on the legs when you do that. The inner groins, lengthening, descending, the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips. Feet are just some extra fun here. Keep the front bottom ribs towards the back body, lengthen from your hips to your armpits. And again, imagine I have a ruler and we're trying to make those two sides completely equal in length. Which side do you have to bring more awareness to? And then gently pressing with your hands. I don't care if your arms get straight. Do not lift the shoulders, but gently pressing with the hands into your lift so that you can lengthen the side ribs just a hair more. Not by pushing the front ribs forward. That's something different. Move the shoulders down away from your ears. Broaden both across the chest, but also across the top of the back. And as you're lifting up through the side ribs, ensure that the sit bones are pressing down and the tops of the thighs are pressing down. The more you press the sit bones and especially the tops of the thighs, the more length you'll get in your side ribs. As long as you're maintaining that lengthening and releasing of the groins. Now separate your legs. If you're at your maximum, take them a hair closer together. Take a look at your legs and see that your knees are pointing up and your feet are pointing up. Hands by your hips again. And again, you can start with your elbows bent. And look, honestly, it depends on the length of your arms. Right? We compare ourselves to other people, but you have to compare the length of people's arms to the length of their torsos. Yes, it's flexibility, but it's also just simple length of different body parts. Balance evenly on the sit bones. Lengthen from the inner groin to the inner knee, through the inner heel, pushing through the ball of the toe. Lengthen from the upper inner thighs, back towards the abdomen. This whole lengthening going on. Descend the flesh of the inner thighs, draw from the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. And then gently, keeping the ribs into the body, gently pushing through the hands, evenly through the hands. Which hand are you pushing more? And adjust, push evenly through the hands. That means you have to push less through the one that you want to push harder on. And find an evenness as you lift through those side ribs. Shoulders down, broadening across the chest, but also broadening across the top of the back. Don't just collapse the top of the back here to open the chest. Can you open both? Yes, if you are very rounded in the back, which there are a lot of people who are very round in the back, then yes, focus on the chest a little bit more. But many of you have been here along with me a long time. And some of you I'm seeing here on video, you don't have that rounding back issue. So you want to become wider overall. And even here, you can use that breath. Inhaling, extending. Exhale, expanding. So extending, becoming taller, longer. Expanding, becoming wider. Hold on the inside of your knees, pull straight up. Take your feet together, hands by your hips. Push the heels together. Lengthen the groins. Inner thighs through the inner knee. Doesn't stop at the knee. Keep going. The knees themselves move away from each other. Descend the flesh of the inner thighs. Draw from the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact the hips together. Again, seeking evenness. I'm not saying you're going to achieve this. Many of us, the hips are quite different on the two sides. But seek it. Keep the front bottom ribs towards the back body. Maintain the work of the legs, gently pushing the arms to lift up through the side ribs. Take your hands on the outside of your knees, push your legs together. Take hold behind the knee, draw the flesh towards the buttock, straighten the leg. Other leg, draw the flesh towards the buttock, drag the heel, straighten the leg. Hands by your hips, Dandasana. and release. Move your lip to the side for a moment. We're going to do downward facing dog in a minute, but I want you to do some arm work first. So from your hands and your knees, I want you to work. So there's an elbow, which means that your upper arm and your lower arm can work differently. We're going to do some shoulder work today. I feel I haven't done that in a while. So today's the day. Who knew? So I want you to turn your forearms in, and you see my hands there? Turn the forearms in, the wrist goes in as you press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. And at the same time, rotate your upper arms out. But sometimes we exaggerate the rotation of the upper arms and we lose the forearms. So the forearm rotates in, press through the ball of the thumb, and at the same time, rotate the upper arms out. But notice when you do that, do you fall to the outer hand? Do not fall to the outer hand. Then you're doing too much. You have to find where those places meet in the middle. And for some of you, when you get it, you're going to experience an opening in the top of the back or between the shoulder blades. Or some of you might even experience it in that neck shoulder connection. But you have to get to that place where those actions are meeting each other. For those that tend to over straighten your elbows, don't. Keep your elbows straight, but not beyond straight. Yes, that's better, Karen. But now the other arm, you fix your, what looks to me like your right arm, so fix your left arm. But I don't know, you could be mirrored, so I could be wrong with right and left here. That looks a little better. All right, now we'll take downward facing dog on a chair. So everybody come up, get a chair. And do the same thing. So have your hands about shoulder distance apart. So for me, my hand is actually slightly off the chair. I'm not fully on the chair. But I'm imagining that the chair is wider. So I'm not wrapping my hands around. It's flat hands, and it's pretending that the chair is a little bit longer. Turn the forearms in. Turn the wrist from the outer wrist towards the inner wrist. Press the ball of the first finger and thumb. And at the same time, rotate the upper arms out. But don't fall to the outer hand. Don't lose the internal rotation of the forearm. Now maintain that. Don't lose that. If you lose it, go back to it. Ignore the rest of the instructions. Maintain that and then go back to the work that we've been doing on the legs. Press the thighs back. Lengthen the groins from the knee to the lower abdomen. The flesh of the inner thighs moving back. Outer knees to outer hips. Compact the hips together. For some of you, the body, we've been doing this for many months now, the body really is beginning to understand that. And if not, that's okay. But today I want you to do that, but focus on this arm work that we're doing. And then look up, walk your feet forward, hands on your hips, and come on. All right, now downward facing dog. It's up to you, it's your body. So you can use block, you can keep the chair, fine, use blocks, or we'll do it on the floor. So again, starting off on your hands and knees. So now we're starting off where we were. Forearms in, wrist rotating in, press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. Have your first finger pointing forward. Or actually, it's a little bit more precise. You can do your first finger pointing forward. Have your wrist parallel to the front of the mat. Or if you're using a chair, it's going to be slightly different. Do what you're doing. But if you're on the floor, then have your wrist parallel to the front of the mat, which may be your first finger forward, might be just a hair different from that. Rotate the forearm in, Rotate the wrist and press down through the ball of the first finger and thumb, and rotate the upper arms out at the same time. So you can't do either of those to maximum, or you will lose one of them, right? If you do everything in the forearm, then your shoulders roll in. If you do everything in the upper arm, you fall into the outer hand and the wrist starts to turn out. So you have to figure out how to maintain both those actions where they cooperate with each other and they meet in the middle. Now push into the hand evenly to lengthen through the arms. Turn your toes under, straighten your legs. Inhale, lengthening through the arms. Exhale, come into downward facing dog. Straight arms, straight legs. Now reestablish the arms. So the forearms rotating in, upper arms rotating out. Add the legs. Press the thighs back, lengthen the groins, the flesh of the inner thighs moving back. Lift from your outer knees to outer hips, compact your hips together. And then bend your legs. Touch your knees to the floor at precisely the same moment. And one more time. Forearms in, upper arms out. Push into the floor. Really take your time. Sometimes it doesn't come right away. So how can you find that place in the middle? And turning your toes under, straighten your legs. Inhale, extending the arms. Exhale, downward facing dog. Keep the ribs into the body. Don't push the ribs forward or down. Instead of lengthening through those side ribs. So forearms in, press the ball of the first finger and thumb, upper arms out, find a lengthening through the armpits and side ribs as you press those thighs back. And then include the work of the legs, the groins, outer knees to outer hips. Let the skull release. And coming out, bend your legs, touch your knees at the floor at precisely the same moment. Take your lift back. Dandasana. Start with your elbows bent, legs straight. Again, if you want to block between your feet, take that block. Peel the flesh away from your sit bones. Now get the legs first, press the thighs down, lengthen the groins, descend the flesh of the inner thighs, draw the outer knees to the outer hips. Ribs into the body. But now ultimately we know that the arms do go straight before you get them, or they may or may not go straight for you today, but before you begin to straighten them, the arms work the same way here. Rotate the forearm in, rotate the wrist in, and press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. And at the same time, rotate the upper arms out. So it's still that downward facing dog work with the arms. Now, some of you will notice that when I brought all that attention to your arms, you totally gave up on the legs. You stopped pressing the thighs down, you stopped lengthening the inner legs. Okay, that's fine. Just notice it, reestablish the legs, see if you can keep some of your awareness on the legs. So we're not moving our awareness, we're spreading the awareness. So press those thighs down, lengthen the groins, draw the outer knees to the outer hips. And now see if you can keep that. Rotate the forearms in, press the ball of the first finger and thumb, rotate the upper arms out, don't lose the conditions of the lower arm, and begin to straighten the arms. Maybe they get straight, maybe they don't. I'm not concerned with the straightness of them, although for those that over straighten your elbows, I don't want you to do that. So either slightly bent or straight, forearms in, wrists in, upper arms out. And some of you will experience an opening in the top of the back area, perhaps in the neck shoulder area, perhaps not. But then can you bring awareness to the front of the chest, to the top of the back, and become wider? And then this can be a lot of work on the arms. So release the arms, separate your legs. When you build up stamina in the arms, you can keep the arms through the transitions. So legs, knees up, toes up, thigh bones down, lengthening the groins, flesh of the inner thighs ascending, outer knees to the outer hips. Hands by your hips. Balance evenly on the sit bones. You should have started there. Now get that experience to the legs. We just did that, so you know that one. Most of you have been doing that for some time with me. And then add the arms. With the elbows still a little bent, forearm in, pressing the ball of the first finger and thumb, upper arm out. And then keep those actions as you begin to straighten the arms. Maybe they get straight, maybe they don't. I'm not concerned about how straight they get. I am concerned about the shoulders still releasing away from your ears. So if you don't have, if either you have very long arms or not enough flexibility in the side ribs, then don't worry about that. Don't just push the ribs forward to do it. That's different. But can you keep the experience of the legs and add the experience of the arms? Forearms in, upper arms out. And again, finding that broadening across the top of the chest, top of the back. And then even bring in evenness to the front and back bodies. So that really that part, it's not just the chest widening and the back widening, but that place in between the two, in that center of your body that you can't see or touch. And notice how these actions affect the breath, the mind. And releasing your arms, take hold of the inside of your knees, lift straight up, feet come together. Yeah, we're doing the same sequence. We're just adding the arms now. Because often we think of these poses, you know, so these are just in the legs. And they are, they work in the hips, definitely, definitely. But the arms are a part of this as well. Press the heels. Elbows bent right now. We're going to do the legs first. Balance evenly on the sit bones. Press the heels. Lengthen through the inner thighs, inner groins. So out through the knees, top of the thighs, back towards the abdomen. Sending the flesh of the inner thighs, drawing the outer knees to the outer hips, compact your hips. And then maintaining that, gently pushing into the hands, forearms in, upper arms out. Forearms in, upper arms out. Press through the ball of the first finger and thumb as you rotate the upper arms out. And again, a broadening across the front of the body and the back of the body, in that space right in the middle of your body, widening. Chin parallel to the floor. Soft throat, soft face. And then take your hands on the outside of your knees, push your legs together. Hold behind one knee, draw the flesh towards the buttock, straighten the leg. Other leg, draw the flesh towards the buttock, straighten the leg, hands by your hips, Dandasana. Get the legs, then also add the arms. Forearms in, upper arms out. And strain the arms to whatever is optimal for you today. And release. I'm hoping this is making sense. If it's not, somebody tell me. You may already be feeling a change of the experience in your neck shoulder connection. Now go get yourself a strap, or if not a strap, a belt, a towel, anything of that type sort. Feet together. If feet hip distance apart, and by hips, I don't mean outer hip bones, I mean hip sockets. If that feels more stable to you, then certainly have your feet hip socket distance apart. Balance evenly on the feet. Press the thighs back, lengthen the groins. The flesh in your thighs moving back, draw your outer knees to outer hips. Take the strap, extend the arms up. Hold wide enough. It looks like I'm off my arm there. Let me go down here. A little wider than your shoulders, so that you really feel the armpits opening. Draw the ribs in. Don't just push the ribs forward. So draw the ribs in, open those armpits, and pull the strap away from each other. It's a slightly different experience here, the way your arms are, but perhaps you can still have the experience that your forearms are rotating in and your upper arms are rotating out. It's subtle here because you're not pressing against the floor or surface. And then some of you may need to take your arms a little bit further apart. I do. And then take your arms behind you without bending the elbow. See if you can find a distance for your arms where you don't have to bend the elbow. So back, and then it comes back up and forward. So we're lubricating those joints. Up and back, chin parallel to the floor, head not moving, and then forward. And see if you can notice, which shoulder gets caught, and see if you can find an evenness. It's interesting. We don't practice yoga with mirrors because the ego gets involved. It can be distracting. It then becomes a fully outward practice and not an inward practice. And ultimately, yoga is not a physical practice. It's an internal practice. However, sometimes it's beneficial to look just to see what your body is doing. And sometimes this can feel even, but if you look in the mirror, you can see that one arm is moving quite differently than the other. And if you do choose to do this in front of a mirror, you can begin to see what you need to do to even that out. And then, of course, once you figured out how to even it out, get away from the mirror so you can make this an internal practice again and not just a physical. Your next time going back, stop at that place where your armpits just feel most open. And rotate those upper arms out, but rotate the forearms in. And then let the arms go down, arms up, and forward, and release the strap. All right, back to Tadasana. Take your arms out to the sides, drop your shoulders. Hold your arms up from your armpits. Now, even here, you can imagine that your hands are pressing into a board, forearms in, upper arms out. So imagine you're pushing down with your hands, rotate your forearms in, rotate your upper arms out. Now, keep the forearms rotating in, and rotate the upper arms out. Yeah, it's a little awkward. You have to use your brain differently. And rotate those upper arms out. And eventually, yes, turn the wrists so your palms face up. But now imagine that there is a board above your hands. And even though your palms are facing up, you're turning the forearms in, pushing your hands against that imaginary board as you rotate the upper arms out. Now, if you look closely at me, you've noticed that my ribs have come forward. So draw the ribs back into the body if yours have come forward like mine. From your armpits, push your arms up. Rotate the upper arms out. Rotate the forearms in. And then turn your arms out to the sides. Exhale, come down. And interlace your fingers together. Turn your palms out. Push the webbing of your fingers together. Inhale, come up. So your arms are a little turned around, which makes the concept a little more foreign. You have to play with it. But rotate the upper arms out and rotate the forearms in. Press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. Ribs in. All right, so it's a little bit more subtle there. You have to use your brain a little bit more. Keep those ribs in. But can you have the experience that the upper arms are moving out, the forearms are moving in? And that there's evenness on the two sides. Some of you are tilted to one side or the other. Release your arms out to the sides, come down. Interlace your fingers together the opposite way. Turn your palms out. Push the webbing of the fingers together. Inhale, come up. And again, keep those ribs in as the arms come up. Rotate the upper arms out so the triceps are moving towards the front of the room. But then the forearms rotate in. As you imagine you're pushing against the board, press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. And I don't know about you, but for me, this is terribly tiring on the arms. But as it's tiring on the arms, there's a letting go and a releasing in that neck shoulder area. Release the arms out to the sides. Tadasana. And even here, Tadasana. Yes, balance even on your feet, thighs back, lengthen the groins, outer knees to outer hips. But now rotate the forearms in and rotate the upper arms out. Right? Sometimes you exaggerate it. Let's exaggerate. Rotate the upper arms out, place point your palms up to the sides. But you can see for a lot of us when we do this, yes, there's a more opening in the chest here, but the ribs also come forward and the back begins to close off. So now keep the upper arms rotated out, but turn the forearms back in. And can you broaden across the chest equally to the top of the back? And can you have the experience that the upper arms are seeking an outward rotation while the forearms are seeking an inward rotation? And of course, if you really turn the forearms in, then your shoulders will roll forward. Right, so do that. Rotate the forearms in so your palms face the back and see how the shoulders roll forward. By the way, it's not wrong to do this ever. So the arm goes in both directions. And now come back out. So the palms face the hips and the forearms are rotating in and the upper arms are rotating out. So I'm not saying any of those are wrong. It's appropriate to turn the upper arms out, take your palms to the side. It's also appropriate to turn your palms to the back. And inviting the two of those experience in, rotating the upper arms out and the forearms in. And release. If you have a wall, use it. If you don't, you don't need to do it. So I'm going to take my hand to the wall. Don't have your hand at an angle like mine. I just want you to be able to see the hand with your palms up. If you don't, then just do this. Imagine that there's a wall there. The wrist won't have that 90-degree angle, and that's okay, but you can do it just like this, and that's totally fine. So palms are up. I'm going to go here just so you can see my hand, but don't do that angle. And you're pressing through the ball of the first finger and thumb. So the forearm, again, is rotating in, but the upper arm is rotating out as you're drawing the shoulder down. And extend from your armpit all the way out, whether you're against the wall or not. Extend from your armpit all the way out through the ball of the first finger and thumb. Rotate the forearm, rotate the wrist. And then draw from your outer elbow to your shoulder. And release. Everybody feeling that? Anybody not getting that? Now's the time to let me know. All right, switch sides. So again, I'm back just so you can see my arm, but you are to have your arm completely straight to the wall. But you're turning the forearm in. Here, I'll just show you here without the wall. You're turning the forearm in, wrist in, and extend from the armpit to press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. And then the upper arm rotates out, so forearm in, upper arm out, and draw from the outer elbow to the shoulder. And make sure, I didn't say this, make sure your wrist is at the height of your shoulder. Wrist at the height of your shoulder. And release. Now, so that was hand up, right? Now you're going to turn your hand to the side. I don't know if I can, yeah, I have to show you this way. So this is the hand up. You're going to turn it so the middle finger is facing the back, all right? And then pressing through the ball of the first finger and thumb. Again, the forearm rotates in. The upper arm is really already rotated out. Just that turn is rotating it. So you don't have to pay too much attention to it, but don't turn it in. But as that upper arm maintains that outward rotation, rotate the forearm in, the wrist in, and press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. And as you extend from your armpit through the ball of the first finger and thumb, through the inner arm, draw from the outer elbow to the shoulder. By the way, elbow over straightener people, don't. Okay, straight arm, not beyond straight. And bend your elbow and release, turn around. So again, you're turning the arm so that the fingers face back. So that rotates the upper arm out, right? The shoulder drops down. So keep that outward rotation of the upper arm, rotate the forearm in, and press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. From the armpit, extend through the ball of the first finger and thumb. From the outer elbow, draw back to the shoulder. And bend the elbow and release. One more time. This time, you're going to turn it so the middle finger points down. If that's too much, then you do, well, whichever one you prefer. You can do up, you can do that way, or we're going to take the fingers fully down. You can see that, right? So the arm is like this. Same act. Now that really rotates the upper arm out, right? Wrist in line with your shoulder, shoulder down. As you do that, rotate the forearm in, press through the ball of the first finger and thumb, but keep the upper arm rotating out. When you turn the forearm in here, the upper arm is going to want to follow. Can you have the upper arm rotating out, the forearm rotating in? From the armpit, extend through the inner arm, push into the wall. From the elbow, draw back to the shoulder. Keep those ribs into the body. And then bend the elbow, release. Other side. So rotate the fingers down. Double check that your wrist is in line with your shoulder. Keep that upper arm out, shoulder down, and rotate the forearm in, the wrist in, press through the ball of the first finger and thumb. From your armpit, extend out, press into the wall. From the outer elbow, draw back to the shoulder. And then bend your elbow and release. Take a chair. Come down onto your knees and take your elbows onto the chair and interlace your fingers together. And first, just take your palms together. And then walk your knees back so that, and you can even rest your head on the chair, which is kind of nice. Walk your knees back so that your arms and torso are in line with each other. So we're looking for that opening of the armpits here. Make sense? All right. Now from here, so the palms are together, from here, take the palms and wrists away from each other. Fingers stay interlocked, but the wrists move away from each other and press into the outer elbows. So don't fall into the inner elbows, but now we're going to the outer elbows, and the wrists are moving away from each other. Now lengthen from your armpits to your elbows. Keep the ribs into the body. Don't sink with the ribs. Don't sink with the ribs. Keep the ribs into the body. And then take the palms together and you can walk your knees forward and release. Remember which way your fingers were interlocked, because you're going to have to do it the other way. But any questions? Does this make sense? Are you feeling this? All right. Change the interlock of your fingers. Elbows on the chair. About shoulder distance apart. Walk back. Start with the palms together. I like to rest my head on the chair. So press into the outer elbow. Find that length. So there's length in the armpits from your hips to your elbows. There's a lot of length there. Ribs into the body. Don't sink your ribs down. Press into the outer elbows and then begin to move the wrists away from each other. So for those that practice headstand, this is like headstand. You're actually preparing for headstand here. So as you move the wrists away from each other, the palms away from each other, press into the outer elbow. Extend from your armpit all the way through to your elbow. And then draw from the outer elbow to the shoulder. So inner armpit to inner elbow, outer elbow to shoulder. Watch those ribs, they tend to sink down. And then let the palms come together. Walk your knees forward. So for those that practice headstand, this is a preparation for headstand. And for those that have difficulty with headstand, you can practice the way. So everybody stand up. So in headstand, you interlace your fingers and you put your head in them on the floor, right? So there's a while where I couldn't do headstand at all. So when the teacher would go, everyone go into headstand, I would stand up and do this. Take your elbows in line with your shoulders. So the wrists are separated because the back of your head is fully in your palms, and extend from your armpit through your elbows and draw your shoulders down. Can you see that this is the same pose, similar pose that you were just doing? And for those of you that do have a headstand practice or practice headstand, can you see how, granted, you're not getting the benefits of being upside down, but can you see how you are getting the benefits of the shoulder work here? Vivian, take your elbows closer together, if they go closer together. And then, of course, since we did that, you got to change the interlock of your fingers and then do it again. Elbows in line with your shoulders. They can be a hair wider. Watch those ribs, ribs in. So the wrists are moving away from each other. Extend from your armpits through your elbows and draw from your elbows to your outer shoulders. Shoulders down, elbows up. So sometimes people will come to class and they might say, I can't do headstand because of my neck. Well, here's headstand. And release back to Tadasana. Check in with yourself. And release. We're going to set up for Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. So watch how we do this. I'm going to take a blanket and a block. If you don't have a block, that's fine. You can take a blanket and some other blankets or a book. But we're going to have a lift for your shoulders and a lift for your buttocks. So if you weren't here in the last weeks, here's how we're going to set up for the shoulders. You're going to take a blanket or a towel and fold it so it's thin to this size. And you're going to lay that out. Have some space for your head. So your shoulders will go on the blanket and your head is on the floor or on your mat. And then you have your block. Lie back, shoulders on the blanket, head is on the mat or your floor. You'll take the block. You pick the height today. Lift your buttocks up. You can slide the block in at the medium height at your sacrum, or you've done a lot of work on those shoulders. Maybe there's space. Maybe you can do the high height today. And then come down. Now, often we say roll the upper arms out. I want you to have the palms down today. I want you to have the palms down. Still roll the upper arms out, but with your palms down. So the forearms are rotating in and the upper arms are rotating out. And if you have the flexibility, straighten your legs. Otherwise, keep your legs bent. And I want you to work this pose with the understanding of the forearms rotating in and the upper arms rotating out. It's different. It's slightly different. Soft throat. And by the way, if you straighten your legs and it bothers your lower back, but you have that opening in your chest, then you take a block or some blankets or some books or anything or pillows, and you put them underneath your feet to raise your feet up. And that will ease your lower back. You can also separate your feet further apart. Also, for the lower back, press the thighs down as you take the tailbone up. To be clear, I'm not saying do a pelvic tilt, don't. So you have to get the thighs down. That will prevent the pelvic tilt. Press the thighs down, tailbone up, top of the buttocks towards your heels. Those three actions in combination. Thighs down, tailbone up, top of the buttocks towards your heels. It also helps turn the thighs in. And of course, the groin work. What have we been doing? Inner thigh, through the knee, through the heel, upper inner thigh, back towards the abdomen. Descend the flesh of the inner thighs, draw the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. All those are going to help. And usually we just do those and we let the arms be, but I actually want you to work the arms today just because we've been doing it. So forearms in, upper arms out. And if you're not sure if it's really doing anything, then just don't do it for a moment. Let the arms go, let them do nothing. And then push into the floor, forearms in, wrists in, and at the same time, rotate the upper arms out. What difference do you notice? In the body, in the breath, and in the mind? Soft throat, soft lips, soft tongue, soft jaw. Don't push through the toes. Toes are up. Maintaining the actions. Shift the aim of your awareness to the center of your skull, where the brain meets the brainstem, meets the spinal cord. And then bend your legs. Keep the block where it is for a moment. Lift your buttocks up an inch, come right back down. Lift your buttocks up an inch, come right back down. Lift your buttocks up an inch, remove the block, come down from the top of the spine to the base of your spine. Sit bones towards your heels. Take a few breaths here. You can adjust the blanket and your head if you need to, that's fine. Take a few breaths. And then pick a side, left or right, extend your right arm, or whichever arm you choose, extend that past your ear, roll to the side, and push yourself to come up. Everybody take downward facing dog. Your choice, blocks, chair, floor. I want you to maintain the work that we've been doing. So start, if you're on the floor, hands and knees. If you're on the chair, that's fine. Rotate the forearms in, upper arms out. And play with that for a moment, right? We usually do one over the other. Can you find that place in the middle? Turning your toes under, straighten your legs, lengthen through the arms. Exhale, come back. Notice which hand has more weight on it, shift. Same for the feet. And keeping that equal pressure, equal weight on the hands, forearms in, upper arms out. Work them evenly. And then evenly through the side ribs. I should say evenly through the armpits, then evenly through the side ribs. Thighs back. Observe your pose. Become the witness. Every pose should have a Shavasana state in it. Can you find your Shavasana in this downward facing dog? And then bend your legs, take your knees to the floor or walk forward. If you're up, you can come into Tadasana, otherwise into child's pose. Feet together, knees apart, arms forward. Rest your skull either on the floor. If that floor is far, you take a block or a blanket, rest that underneath your forehead. And without this being the hardest work you're doing, because we're winding down here, but do have the experience, whether you're in Tadasana or here in child's pose, where the forearms rotate in and the upper arms rotating out, and finding the place in the middle, not doing one more than the other. Letting the awareness of the brain move to that center of your skull, where the brain meets your brainstem. And for those in child's pose, take your hands underneath your shoulders. Push to come up. Everybody lie back. Take a blanket for your head. If there's any backache at all, then have some roll blankets or towel nearby for your knees, or you can take a chair as well. Some of you, the flat blanket will work best. Some of you might need that folded in half for your neck. Start with your legs bent and your feet on the floor. And that blanket just touches the tips of your shoulders, supporting your seventh cervical. And then bend your legs into your chest and give yourself a hug. You can hold behind the knees or around the shins. And say something kind to yourself. Take your hands to the face of your knees. And on an inhalation, keep your hands on your knees, not a tight grip, but they're just there. Inhale, let the legs move away from you just a few inches. Exhale, draw the legs towards you, just easing the lower back. Inhale, legs moving away. Exhale, legs drawing towards you. Inhale, legs moving away. Exhale, legs drawing towards you. And the next inhalation, let the feet touch the floor. Scoot without doing a pelvic tilt, scoot the flesh of the buttocks towards the heels. Straighten your legs one at a time. Let your legs fall out to the side. Find a comfortable place for your arms. Let go. Let go. Let your arms and your legs flow away from your torso. Imagine 4 streams flowing away from the source. The arms and legs are the streams. The torso is the source. Let your arms and your legs flow away from your torso. Soften all of your facial features, softening the forehead, the eyebrows, and the space between the eyebrows. Soften your eyelids and your eyelashes. Soften your cheeks and your cheekbones, the outer cheeks, but also the inside of your cheeks, the inside of your mouth. Soften your lips, top lip, bottom lip, corners of your lips, insides of your lips. Soften your jaw, let the jawbone release away from the bones of your skull, more and more as time goes on. Let go everything, hold nothing. Become a witness to the breath as the breath breathes you. Just the breath, nothing but the breath. Shavasana. Begin slowly coming out. Take a soft, smooth, peaceful inhalation and a longer, smoother, peaceful exhalation. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your nose. Gently rub your thumb across the tips of your forefingers. Bend your legs, place your feet on the floor with your knees together, feet apart. Take your hands and place them onto your abdomen or onto your chest. Let the healing energy of your hand penetrate your body, pierce through your layers, and heal whatever it is you may need healing with today. Pick a side whenever you feel ready. Extend your arm past your ear, roll to the side. Rest your ear into your upper arm. When you feel ready, place your top hand on the floor in front of your heart. Turn your torso towards the floor first. Push to come up. Come up chest first, head last. Come up to sitting. Bring your palms together, thumbs at your chest. Rest your eyes into your cheekbones. Gently turn the corners of your lips up, taking a moment to observe your practice. What's different? What's changed? In your body, in your breath, in your mind. Let's close our practice together by chanting one collective Om. Deep inhalation. Om. Gently let your eyes open. Big smile. Namaste. Bow to the divine within you. Thank you, everybody. So nice to be with you all. If you have any questions, if you want to unmute yourself, say hello to anybody, you're welcome to unmute yourself, ask anything you want.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome, Chaya.
Mhm.
Jonathan, something new that I'm feeling is like I have to open my back, upper back between my shoulder blades before I open my chest, and then try to open my chest as much as the back is open, because I have such a tendency to go into the chest right away. I kind of reverse it.
Yeah,
Does that make
yeah, that can work. I mean, we've been told so much just to open, open, open. And I was doing that too for years, and I don't buy it anymore.
Well, it strangles the thoracic spine. So by
Yeah,
opening
it's
the
just
back,
too much.
yeah.
We have to remember that the lungs are on the back too. The lungs aren't here. The lungs are in the back. And, you know, I mean, some people really have that roundedness. And I think it came from that. When you have that roundedness, yes, you have to do that. But not all of us have that. And at some point, we open. Okay, then we just keep going. So I did teach it that way for many, many years. And I'm in a new place. And I believe we have to open the front and back.
Feels good. Feels good.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everybody.
See you, Gay. Bye, everybody.
Mom, it's nice that she's here.
Yeah, it is.